Yes, hello everyone. This is Daniel Giamario for our monthly video blog. And this is going to be a shorter one than usual. I just wanted to speak a little bit and show some charts that's similar to what I've just written in social media over the last few days. And I'm here today, once again, helped out by Owen, our managing director. And so he'll be there to help with the slides and have a little bit of discussion on this. I do suggest that when you see this in the newsletter, that the article there that also covers some of the same information exactly follows it. And you can also find that on our under Founders Corner on our website. Okay, so let's first look at the charts of the new moon and the solstice, because there is something quite interesting. I know this is slightly off topic, but it's going to give us a background on understanding this update on the US Pluto return and upcoming US Chiron return, which are our main subjects. So let's start off by looking at the solstice chart. I wanted to mention, because there's such a closeness to the date and the exact point of the solstice and the new moon point, that this actually calls up something that the Native Americans and other indigenous people around the world thought was super important, which is when there was a convergence or a connection between an equinox or solstice point and a new moon or a full moon. It was a way of hooking up the energy of the moon with the solar cycle. And this would have been considered a really big one for this to happen like this. And I wanted to point that out because it gives a kind of a larger context to the understanding of the US chart and the US last exact Chiron return. So just notice a few things here. And we're going to see these themes often over these next few minutes. We see a Sagittarius moon. We see the Saturn position at 21 Aquarius. There is the alignment with those planets in early Capricorn. Keep that in mind, the Sun and Venus and Mercury, and there's Pluto at 27 Capricorn. All our good friend Mars still there in Gemini, where we'll be for a few more months. And then we also notice that at the point of the solstice, an alignment that we've been talking about all year shows up, which is the North Node with the nodal axis with Uranus, which has been a theme all along. All right, so let's look at the new moon now. So this is just the very next day. And here, as I mentioned, it's like the ancient ways of understanding this is that if there's a new moon or a full moon right at a solstice point, then wow, we're really onto something. This is a big calendric shift and high ceremony, I guess we could say. So just noting here that some of the same things. You know, the early Capricorn moon at 1:32 Capricorn, and all that whole lineup in Capricorn. Oh, and then we'll see the importance of that when we look at the US chart next. And keep in mind also Saturn at 21 Aquarius, and of course the one that we're focusing on here first, which is the 27-23 Capricorn Pluto position. And we'll note here that at the new moon, at least if you're in Los Angeles, the Scorpio rising. You know, as you know, that depending on where you are at the point of the new moon or the solstice, the angles change about every 2 hours to different signs. So you can't always say, well, gee, I'm in New York, and well, geez, it's Scorpio rising, new moon, not necessarily. But all the other stuff will be the same. And last but not least is to put your attention on Jupiter, that's just moved into Aries, and the Chiron position at 11 Aries that comes into our story in a few minutes. Okay, so let's look at the US chart. been looking at this now for a good number of years, as lots of other people, and you'll notice here the natal Pluto is 2733 Capricorn. Now, there have been 3 exact conjunctions, and the last one is coming up here in a few days, and we'll look at the chart of that in a moment. However, in attributing the initiatory window of Pluto conjunct US Pluto, if we use the same strategy, the same approach, the same criterion as on an individual's chart, then this is absolutely not over. Actually, the way we would look at the almost 2-year initiatory window, it will actually extend all the way until October 10th, 2023, when Pluto will retrograde back to 27 and some minutes past the natal position. So it's kind of, we really have to say that 2022 and 2023 are without question the bullseye, the deepest descent, the greatest intensity of the event that can only happen with a Pluto return, which is about every 246, 7, 8 years, depending on the retrograde cycles and so on. And so this is huge. I mean, obviously in our school, what we've talked about for a long time is that Pluto aspects and Pluto transits, and this is a big one, has to do with facing shadow, has to do with composting what needs to be composted. It's something that brings out secrets, but that ultimately, if there's an opportunity, if a person has the courage, or if a country has the courage to face their shadow material and to bring out the secrets, to be willing to be exposed, that out of it can come an empowerment, as it does on individual horoscopes. And that will be what the 2023 time period could be, if the time frame, which ends in a few days, is not taken seriously as an important initiation. Because when you compost, out of the compost comes new life, transformation. So why don't we, just keep in mind also 27 Aquarius there for the natal moon position, as you'll see in a moment. So let's go to the actual Pluto return chart. So if you happen to be in Arizona, well, then it's 8 in the morning, which is the exact point. And remember, this is the 3rd exact Pluto conjunction with the US natal Pluto. And then, as I've just mentioned, there will be a final portion of the Pluto initiatory process that will extend until October of next year. So notice here some of our main themes. Actually, if you remember that the US chart has a whole lot of stuff in Cancer, here we have the Sun and Venus and Mercury and are in Capricorn. I mean, the US Mercury is almost exactly opposite that. The Sun is almost exactly opposite that. I don't know if you hear that, a helicopter is just going over right now. That's all right. Doesn't happen very often. And then also you'll note Saturn at 2705 Aquarius, and something that I've been writing about in the last few years is the US moon position is 27 Aquarius. And so we're approaching that point that only happens every 30 years of Saturn on the US moon, which is yet another factor to keep in mind. The US has just finished its Neptune opposition, so that part is finished. So there's really a lot of stuff on the table here, but we don't want to overlook the fact that on the US chart, go back to the US chart for a moment and you'll see what I mean. Look at Venus, Jupiter, and the Sun, and Mercury, and So basically the Capricorn planets are, all in opposition to the natal chart. And the thing I want to place your attention on now is look at Saturn at 14 Libra and look at Chiron at 20 Aries, opposite. And then we can see that Chiron and Saturn are both squaring the US Sun. Saturn square the Sun, it's almost 1 degree. I mean, that's a real close one. And then we have Chiron squaring both the Sun and Mercury. So this is then kind of taking us to what will be talked about a lot by most astrologers, the 2023-2024 Chiron return to the US chart. Now, it does turn out that there are 3 exact points in 2024, actually one that goes into 2025. I'm not mistaken here. Yeah, there's 3 exact conjunctions that happen April 20th, 2024, November 8th, 2024, and then the last one is February 18th, 2025. But what I'm suspecting, based on something I'll bring up in a moment, is that, and I think other astrologers that I've looked at have kind of agreed with this, that we could say the Chiron return to the US chart actually begins in 2023. And that's what the chart we're looking at right now, July 23rd, 2023. And you'll note here a lot of the things that we've been talking about all along, but in particular, I want to be placing the attention here on the degree of Chiron, 1957 Aries. Beyond the scope of our short sharing here today is the fact that if we went back into February, March, April, that's the time period where Jupiter in Aries will go across Chiron. So there's already the warming up of Chiron by Jupiter in Aries, but by the time we get to July, Jupiter's already in Taurus. But this 1957, that's really close to the natal position, really close, which is 2008 Aries. And so therefore, if we were looking at a chart of a country, or actually in a more expanded view of looking at an individual initiatory process, it could be said that the window of initiation for the Chiron process to the US chart begins here, July 23rd, and would actually extend then until that final conjunction, which is in 2025, February 18th, 2025. And that would represent the initiatory window that could be applied to an individual chart also. Okay, one more thing here, just to keep in mind. Placing the attention on that 1957 Aries, which in July could be thought of as the beginning of the Chiron return, look at something very interesting in 2024. So let's look at that eclipse chart. Now, this is really quite astounding, but I mean, it's really hard to imagine. You can't just make this kind of stuff up. I mean, the universe makes it up, right? So here we have an over 4-minute long solar eclipse, total solar eclipse, which will cross starting in Mexico and through the US and up to through eastern Canada. Being called the Great North American Eclipse. And it's happening at 1924 Aries. Now, this is not a misprint. Look at Chiron, 1924 Aries. Not a misprint. So we could say not only is it the great North American total solar eclipse, but also it's the Chiron return U.S. Eclipse. Remember, that's almost exactly the same as the 2023 July start date. This is going to be quite amazing. And then also the nodes. I mean, look, South Node is at 15 Libra, really close to the US Saturn. And all the configurations are kind of highlighted here, particularly the ones associated with the natal chart. So I thought it would be very important at this point to bring this to all of your attention. Maybe the last word here would be, so what, according to in our school, what is the purpose of a Chiron return? And this is the 5th one for the United States. I know that there's many different ways that different astrologers use Chiron. How I see it is that it is not a wounder, it is a teacher, shamanic teacher. And what its job is to first point out where fracture points are, where challenges are, where essential challenges are, pointing it out. And then at various times in its cycles, offering teaching as far as how to heal it. And that healing is why we attribute Chiron to the underworld dimension. It's not allopathic. It's like you're having to surrender to what you may not want to surrender to. And so therefore each Chiron return is an examination of what are some of the challenges to the United States from the very beginning. No time here. I don't want to. I want to suggest here as we complete this short sharing that goes along with the article, is that if you haven't had a chance to look at the extensive collection of articles and videos that have been done on the U.S. chart, which include all these topics that I'm talking about right now that I'm updating you on. That is included with this video and in the newsletter. So, and also in the social media post is that ability to access all of that to prepare you for this amazing, remarkable, astonishing aspects in 2023 and 2024. Right. So, Owen, what if any comments or questions before we complete this?
Well, I'm just really grateful for the shamanic astrology underworld understanding that it's has the transformational component to it, that it could be seen as a pretty dark time coming up, but I just like to highlight the fact that there is some hope.
Well, yeah, it's kind of exactly if I'm talking to somebody, an individual who's in a Chiron return. If it's getting a person's attention. This is the time in order to handle a particular issue. And then if they don't take that time period seriously as a way to healer, it's called, healer heal thyself, country heal itself, that kind of thing, then you can expect the universe to make the next move. So then there will be events that will force the action on someone. So we never say in a Chiron return that somebody's going to get sick. But if they need to have an illness to get their attention, it's not endemic, it's something to get their attention so that the healing can happen and so they can distill a kind of an elixir from that, which then becomes the gift of that country or that person, right? So that's what'll be interesting to tune into. There's no way in either one of these two to light wash them or go into a place of just, oh, it's only 5D. You have to look at all three worlds, including the underworld, and to not be in any denial. This is the time period. All underworld cycles are about no denial. And otherwise, if you have any denial, it manifests as Jung put it. in a time period when there are no gods and goddesses, they show up as our diseases, and that would appear to an individual or a country. So there you have it, and we're certainly open for any comments, feedback on this. If any of you have a chance to see this before tomorrow's seminar, that also can go into the question and answer that happens at the end of our investigation of the cycles of 2023. So I hope that good to see a lot of you for tomorrow's seminar. Certainly the ones that are on today's seminar can't be on this right now. I mean, but this, of course, there's no live audience to this right now. But anyway, I hope you have a chance to see it, and I'll talk to you all next month, as well as for the solstice. Okay, good for now.
All right, thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.